So first off, thank you for everybody that's stayed along with us this far and enjoying, hopefully, the presentations. So what we have going on today is a culmination of a lot of years of work. Initially a collaboration with Sony that became sole development of the Foundry later on. Many years. What you can see in this is 7 releases over the space of about 4 years, and really just a lot of work and passion by a growing group of people. And I have to say, even in the last while, working our way towards this event, the team have just been smashing it. The team it's not just people with production experience. It's the whole range of people at the Foundry that are really passionately behind Katana and Mari. And I'm really proud to work with these folks. But what I wanted you to sort of take a look at was the range of basically the work that we've been doing. So across these 7 releases across the 4 years, there's been a theme that is really sort of being around the idea of making sure that we're progressing the code. When we did the Windows port, we had an opportunity to really get things cleaned up. When we also were doing that, it gave us the opportunity to lay the foundations for things like the Hydra viewer coming into Katana. The work that we did with Katana 2.6 made the foundations for a layered viewer API, which is going to be a big part of what you see going forward. So we've had sort of a technical foundation. We've had a performance foundation because everybody needs everything to go faster. Katana was inspired by complexity, inspired by volume of work, and really that has grown. That has not changed. It's only getting more and more. But then there's a theme that runs through all this. Our work on performance, our work on making sure that the technology is embedded within Katana to serve your needs is really got a layer about you, the artist, and the pipeline developer. But today is really going to be about the artist. So let's get on with the next part. So there are times in Katana, being a look development and lighting program, that you do need it to be that artist tool. So we started down a path where we wanted to bring things into the viewer. Like I said, with Katana 2.6, we combined the opportunity to bring the Hydra viewport into Katana with the ability to design a new viewer API. That led us down a path which allowed us to actually do things like the monitor layer that we introduced in Katana 3.5. Over that time, we'd always had this thought for probably the last 2-3 years that what we really wanted to do with that API was we wanted to bring this combined ray tracing and GL viewport together to give an artist the ability to work directly in the viewer, heavily inspired by Nuke and by Modo. Nuke specifically, it's the Roto Paint workflow. So you can take your image full screen. You have the tools up the left side and across the top. Everything's there for you. Modo really brought to Foundry a sort of elegance in the artist-facing side of UX design. So having all these people around us, having all these inspirations, really gives us a chance to kind of sense check our ideas and keep going. The design that's in front of you now, we reached a point where we were like, okay, this is great, it's progressing. Wasn't far enough. And today I get to show you what far enough really means. So with that, I am really excited. Like, this is something that we've been working for, no pun intended, 4 more years to get to. And this is the culmination of bringing you the vision of this working in the viewer experience and new levels of freedom for artists. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that, no matter how you see this represented across the internet by Foundry staff, by other people, this is something that we've taken seriously to make sure it works for all the rendering plugins. And we will continue to do that. And with that, I'm going to mute myself and hand over to Gary, who is going to take us through the first few features.
Thanks, Jordan. So as part of the 4.0 4.0 release, we're making a number of improvements to the Hydra-based viewer. And a quick peek at one of those is interacting directly with the render's ID buffer. So you can see we've got pre-selection highlighting. You can use all standard selection techniques like marqueeing and using modifiers to remove or add elements to the current selection. And I just want to kind of reiterate that what you're actually seeing here is actually an image. It's not any geometry behind this right now. You're actually seeing kind of interacting with some data that comes with the rendered image itself. And you can use this image selection to drive what you actually want to load inside Katana. If you had an image from yesterday, you could use that and use it to drive what you actually want to load and utilize today. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the 2D mode or a 3D mode, what you're actually interacting with is completely in sync, and you can use that to drive any of the internals inside Katana. As Jordan also mentioned, is we're introducing this new artist-focused lighting mode, and that is kind of inspired by kind of thinking a bit like a cinematographer. So when you're on set and you're wanting to place lights based on either how that light is going to fall on a subject, or maybe how certain practical lights are actually sitting there on the set, we're thinking about that when you're actually placing tools and interacting in the image. So here we are. We're just going to show you the some of the different techniques when you're in a full screen lighting mode and some of the modes that you can actually use. So when you're in this mode, you're only actually interacting with light. The first few are designed for how light is actually going to fall on the surface, and a few of the others are actually designed kind of around the snapping mode for interacting with objects as they are actually sit in the scene. And here you can see it doesn't matter what renderer you're using. We're kind of using 3D Light in this example, but you could be using any of the renderers behind the scenes. So first, we're going to start off by just creating an environment light just to get us up and running, get a little bit of kind of basic ambient light, just to shift a click to create it, using the monitor layer as the overlay to show you the rendered image. You can notice that there's actually a parameter UI that pops up that is related to any lights that you've got selected. You can also see a little star at the bottom, and that enables you to bookmark any lights that you want to have kind of selected and always up as part of this user interface. Next, we're going to use a different one of the modes. This is basically placing a light based on the normal of the object. We're using gestures to place that light once it's actually been created, moving it in and out, and then also increasing the size of it. You can also see it's been added to the parameter UI on the right-hand side, and here we are, we're making a favorite of that as well. We're going to solo the area light and then adjust its kind of intensity and get it to where we actually like the light that it's actually producing. One of the things that artists like to do is to base lights that they're about to create on one they've already got. So if you've already got kind of a light or an intensity or an exposure or even a distance that you like, you can use that existing light to actually create another light. In this case, we're using the rim mode to actually place the light based on an existing light that's already sitting there. Adding it to our favorite selection. It's already inherited the solo from the other light. So here we're just soloing that rim light to see exactly how that's making a difference with the render. And when we've got that one to where we like, we're also going to use another mode. This one is based around duplication. So what we're actually going to do here is we're going to change the contributions of this particular light, and we're going to separate it out into kind of a diffuse component and a specular component. So once we've duplicated it, we remove the diffuse and just up the specular. And now they're totally separate, so we can kind of tweak those and make any changes that we want totally separately. Next, we're going to do something based on camera position. This is using a place based on the camera position mode. This can also be used in this case for fill light, but you could imagine something like an eye ping or something like that, where you just want to base it on exactly where your camera is right now. Here we're using it for a fill that is sitting off to the side of the robot. Once we've kind of got the lights that we like, we can use the spreadsheet. You can see that we've actually hidden the manipulators. There's going to be a bit of work to make sure that the arrows that indicate where they're actually pointing to goes away as well. But we're just going to interact straight with this kind of spreadsheet view of the lights, changing color temperature, a new TML mode that we're just tweaking to enable you to warm up lights, or in this case, cool them down. Soloing lights. You can see that it's actually doing it for multiple things that are selected at the same time, and giving you the kind of full control over all of the lights that you've already kind of highlighted and made sure that they are the ones that you actually care about for making this image. Another thing that we often get asked for, as you can see, our robot here has got himself a friend. And what you can actually do is pick an area in the scene that you use as your pivot point, and then another point that shares, I want to create a light that is actually going to cast a shadow at this new location. Here we're using a spotlight to really highlight it. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to say, make this finger create a shadow at this point on the ground. And as you can see, his shadow is pointing exactly there. And it doesn't matter whether you're, making it on the ground. You could have it so you want a shadow from a particular object to fall on any other object. You can move it around using the manipulators. And as you can see, the light, the finger is pointing exactly where you've actually clicked on the ground. All of the tweaks that you're actually doing, they can be, scrubbed and done using existing kind of manipulations that you already have. Here, what we're showing is a feature in Katana. For those of you that aren't familiar, is you can actually have kind of the equivalent of sequence-based lighting and then make shot-based overrides with a different Gaffer 3 downstream. There's a kind of a combo box in the top left-hand side that you can see, and it's also showing where that light was actually created and any edit packages downstream to actually make those changes. And that's also being reflected in the right-hand side with the parameters there. This is a shot-based override of making it red. But if you go back to the actual creation package where it was created in the sequence gaffer, that actually shows you up as still being its original creation package as being white. So really familiar, any lighting artists that have actually used this before. So that's the lighting tools that are going to be shipping in 4.0. What you're actually looking at is our current workflow, and that will be even tweaked and even more enhanced when you actually get the final deliverable.
Yeah, so coming later this fall, and so you can see that the intention is to try and leverage the fact that Katana is a tool that's really designed to do a few things, but do them exceptionally well. So we've been testing this internally, and we'll start the alpha process soon, and we'll be looking forward to getting feedback from artists at large. All right, so I get the pleasure to introduce to you the next feature. So multiple simultaneous renders is Katana's ability to now actually have multiple renders running, feeding into its catalog system so that you don't have to stop and wait for the next render. All right, so this feature will be shipping with Katana 4. And what I wanted to do is walk through a little scenario here. So we've got our little crab, and he's got a buddy that, of assets or his little characters that he works with. One of them happened to be this little turtle, and then we've got our friendly little neighborhood octopus. The challenge with the octopus, and you can see that I was running multiple renders there. I didn't care if one was still running before I launched the next one. The problem with the octopus is that he is too close in hue to the crab. So we want to solve that. So obviously, yeah, fine. You can take, a wipe and you can basically compare to, but let's take it, build it up to something a little bit more. So what we can do here is we've got one static image already done. We can launch a live render of that. And then what we can do is, while we're waiting for the live render to kick off, we'll go dive in to a node that I set up to do some edits. So this is the network material edit. If you guys haven't seen this yet in the Katana 3.6 line, what this is a tool that replaces the network material parameter edit and the network material splice. It's a what you see is what you get way to make procedural overrides to a shading network. The thing in Katana 4.0 is we added filtering, so you have control over which of the nodes actually has the dimming functionality. So this functions just like a diff view for a programmer, and with these you can really tell what's going on. So here I've got a color correction node. I'm just going to dial through a few variations. Takes me a while to kind of find the one I think is good, but let's sort of fast forward on to the next. So I settled on purple. And then I decided, okay, well, let's compare that. But I want to flip the scenario now where, again, I've got a preview render running, got the live render running. And now what I'm doing is I'm flipping the buffers so that my preview render of the octopus is staying static. It's the full tilt render. And I can use the live render that then compare and toggle through the other props or characters, however you want to look at this little setup, and make sure that I'm 100% happy with the way this looks. Okay, so this is a nice sort of additional workflow. Again, depending on how fast your things render, how fast your machine is, how many things you have in one Katana project file, you might, you may always sort of complete before your next step, but it's just that psychological, you don't have to wait. All right, so here we go. Let's see how this scales up though. So courtesy of the development team, we just got this little example tool for launching multiple renders. And in this scene, I've got two graph state variables, one that controls which asset and one that controls time of day. And this little UI just sort of samples all those things. And I can say, okay, well, let's just do one frame. And I'm going to launch one frame. And on my machine, I now have all the different assets all rendering at the same time. I did throttle, in this case, the machine to 4 simultaneous renders. To someone, Arvid, you asked about why the speed. It's basically I'm running and capturing on a 8-core laptop. That's the times we live in, working from home. So that's where you're at. If you're normally working on like a 32 or 64 core machine, you'll see better performance. All right. So we've gone through, we've been able to then see, at 4 at a time, but all sort of from one user action, all the various things. Maybe the turtle and the alligator should be different, but we're going to leave them alone for now. Another scenario that this brings into play is that with the right little launching scripts, what you can do is then also say, well, it's really not about the different assets. What I really care about is how does the work I just did look at different lighting conditions? So same kind of setup, except this time I'm just having to loop through the lighting conditions. So I've got my neutral render, a bit of a studio or interior look, and then sluggishly coming behind that is my little nighttime setup. And here it comes. And again, these are all running on my workstation. I'm not waiting for the render farm. I'm not doing anything else. You could use first, middle, last on a shot. You could render a batch sequence if you wanted to. You've got multiple options now within Katana. It's really up to you. You could use this for wedging. Pretty much anything that is about you needing multiple angles of feedback, different point of views to decide, have you completed the work that is going to take you on to the next step so you can make the next change and validate that. Okay, so this gets even crazier though, because you can really expand this out. So we're still going to stick with one frame, but I'm going to also loop through the different assets by the times a day all on the local machine. And this time I've actually increased the number of concurrent jobs I'm allowing to happen on the machine. And just for you guys to know, this little script is still a work in progress, but it's something that we're going to ship in the examples. So with Katana 4, you'll have what you need to actually be able to sort of build up your own little submission widgets. All right, so let's see how things are going. And there we go. We've got 18 renders on the go, and I can start toggling through all these. So one thing to keep in mind is that this is just the work in progress build of the Katana 4.0. So we are doing work to make the catalog sort of conducive to helping with this workflow. We're making some changes to the monitor to help with this workflow. We do have the long-term or longer vision that early next year, we would bring you guys a contact sheet UI and sort of combine a lot of these elements together to make something that's really something special for you. But to give you an idea what that would look like, here's the 3-to-light display, which has a contact sheet mode, showing those same renders coming off of my machine. So let the artistic choices and freedom begin. All right, this feature itself is really valuable, and it's been getting a lot of great feedback from the clients we've discussed it with. You're working on really hardcore, heavy-duty work that makes your workstation cry. And you may not have the latest AMD or Intel chips that have just cores to spare. So what happens when you do that, or you don't have that? The answer is you utilize the other machines around you. So Katana 4.0 is going to introduce a yet to be named, but adequately described as scalable interactive network rendering. So the same system that is going to allow you to then have multiple simultaneous renders running on your machine is also going to be something that you connect to OpenQ, to Deadline, to Cube, Royal Render, you name it, insert your render farm management software. So these are extensions to our APIs that have very easy connections, and we'll be able to help people get up and running, and we'll look at making sure that we ship a couple of examples with it. But let's take a look at what this experience really brings. So the farm that I have most available to me that can demonstrate this the best is the 3-to-light cloud system. So this is what I'm using here. And just so you know, this is just the view of the 3-to-light display, but my Katana session is running in the background as well. So I've taken a similar file that we were already working with, submitted that to the cloud. The machines were already warmed up, which is why they're all coming together so quickly. And all that Katana is doing, in this case, a 3-to-light cloud or in your render farm, is it's managing the pixel traffic when it comes to these renders. What does this look like for shot production? So here's one of our test files. So this has 21 shots, and same idea. Everything had been uploaded to 3-to-light cloud, and the pixels just come rolling in. What does this mean for you as an artist? It means that you need to have a conversation with your supervisors about how are machines procured. It'll be a lot cheaper to have a few more extra render licenses and give you access to a render farm than it is to get another person in. So we're multiplying the amount of work you as an artist can do, which means then all the sort of laborious tasks of recreating the same creative work are now ultimately going to be offloaded. So you as the artist get to do a lot more of the individual creative tasks. And as far as what it means for companies, it means just masses of efficiency, low cost scalability, because you're buying into Katana render nodes and to your render licenses for your chosen rendering platform. And it allows you to scale up, build a small pool of machines that works on a time of day principle, 9 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock at night if we're all being nice to each other. Those machines are available for interactive renders. Nighttime, they fall back over to being the farm renders that deliver the dailies the next day. And one of the things that I think is important to understand is that this means you, as an artist, have freedom to make sure you know that when you put something in for dailies the next day, it is going to look the way you want. You don't need to sort of be surprised that you got one sort of section of the shot done. You can cover enough frames to know exactly what you're getting across that whole range of animation. All right, so that's what Katana 4 is. That's like months away, just around the corner. There's more scalability in Katana than we're telling you about right now. But the part that we can tell you about right now is this: the ability to do things like multiple simultaneous, networked even, live renders. So what I have running here, again, on my laptop is 4 shots out of our little test animation, okay? So I'm just using the catalog with the front and the back buffer. I'm setting up a wipe so I can see the changes between 2 shots. What I can also do now is then say, okay, well, I want to go change the key light color, and going to sort of just warm it up. You know, warm and cool split, always a great place to start. So I've done that with the key light, and now I can come to the rim light and do the other half of this work. So I can bring it up, I can get the color temperature the way I like it, and fire that off. Okay, so I've been consuming it. I can see him from 2 similar camera angles, but really I can also then start to survey through. And again, there's more improvements coming to the catalog and monitor that will make this easier for now. But this is what we had to show you today. And so you can survey your way through it. But this is where then things start to combine. So all the lighting tools and the lighting mode that Gary showed you, that can be toggled on. And then you have the ability to then grasp your lights, solo them, and reposition them as needed. So in this case, getting our little guy's key light sorted out, knowing that we're pretty happy with it. But I can also then come back and I can then survey this against multiple camera angles. How's the spill flowing into the purple and the character in purple? What's the bounce into the set like? Is it a good angle from multiple factors? Again, this is about collecting as much information about the choices you make so that you aren't surprised by any scenarios. And then if you want to consume this and sort of look at a little sort of look to the future of what would this look like in a contact sheet view. So working on the second character, but making similar choices, I can then consume this from multiple points of view and make similar changes. So I'm going to be able to come in and solo his key light soon enough. And I can see, in the top right corner, what's the spill like onto our, fellow in the yellow shirt. How does it look, not only on him from the main key light angle, from the secondary key light angle, and from where he's going to be sort of slightly out of focus? Do I need to maybe consider making a different choice for that key light angle? Or do I know on the bottom left-hand side, I'm just going to cheat it and use a gaffer to basically make a procedural change to it? All these things can now be consumed at once, right? We've talked with clients about things like the massively scaled CPUs coming in from Intel and AMD, whether or not they had for the amount of time a lighting artist spends lighting, are they being utilized? Well, the answer is now, with this kind of workflow, both local and on the farm, you can have a serious conversation with the tech management at your studio about what investment is going to empower you as an artist to get through the most. Okay, so that's one of the main big things coming up. But this isn't all. We've held some things back. Some things are sort of the paint's drying on a few more things, but there's updates coming to the Hydra viewer. There's updates coming for USD. There's more updates on the network material system, and there's just a slew of little things that are also interwoven with this. And so we're really excited about it. And really, we look forward to your feedback. We are making this tool for you guys. So if there's things where it's like, again, the nuance of it, we want to hear about it. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you.